Welcome to the new season of the Wine Draw Podcast. I thank you for coming back for a second season. We hope to bring you a lot of new, interesting, and great wines to sip on. Once again, I have my team with me.
Right.
I am Renee, owner of the Wine Draw. I have my team, my wine enthusiast, Taylor, and my wine educator, Mr. K. And we're here to have a lively conversation about different things that have been going on, different wines that we've tried, and 3 that we're trying while we're talking to you. And first off, I just want to welcome you back
Glad
to
to
the
be
Wine
here.
Draw.
Thank you.
And I'd like for you to give us a little insight on what's been going on in your world over the last, or since the last time we got together. Taylor.
Okay, that's not the order we just talked about.
Okay.
Let's see, what's been going on? Not much. I know outside open back up, but I typically like to still stay in the house.
All right.
I do go outside multiple times a week to work out, which I was doing before, but also during the whole panorama that we've been in.
And she lifts a lot of weight.
Yeah, there's a powerlifting competition coming up in November.
No way.
Yeah, so it'll be. I have a, and if my coach listens to this, I'm gonna say this here so y'all can also hold me accountable.
Okay.
I have a number, a squat weight that I know I can hit, and it starts with a 3. So
Come on now.
as long as I can, go past what I do in my regular workout sessions. So that'll be in November. Let's see what else is going on. I haven't tried any new recipes as of yet, but beef tongue is on my radar. And I cannot wait. Oh wait, I haven't, so this is the thing. Food wise, anybody who knows Instagram knows that one time you see one picture and you like it, your explore page is full of it,
That's
right?
it, yeah.
I've seen a tomahawk steak for like 6 weeks straight. And I was like, I want one. And for my birthday last week, I got to order one, so I was very pleased. Check it off my list.
Where'd you go?
To Max's Downtown.
All right. Shout out to Max's.
Yes.
Fam.
Yes. Shout out to Abel at Max's. He was a great waiter. We had a great
Nice.
time. But also so beef tongue is the next thing that I will be venturing into. I haven't told my dad yet because he's very much so like, what? I'm sorry, what are you doing with this? So I'll let you know.
So is it something that you're going to buy and prepare?
Mhm.
Oh.
You're doing the whole 9. That I've had it off a menu before. I respect the fact that you're doing it.
Well, I've
yourself.
had it in tacos, right? So there's a taco place not too far from here, and I'm always like, I want that taco. It's one of the best ones I've ever had.
Really?
The meat is so tender. So my next thing is to make it at my own house.
Nice.
Okay.
At Tonga. Nice.
Mr. K, what you been up to?
Wow, there has been a lot. This has been a really exciting summer. I've been in the food service industry almost 20 years now, and now I've decided to go independent and kind of do my own pursuits. It's feeling good. Our industry can be very difficult. The business model kind of depends on you working a lot and paying the dues. I will thank for my work ethic now, but now I maybe want myself and my partners to benefit from that work ethic, just like the people I used to work for did, So it's a natural progression, and ironically, this COVID has given people who, if you're willing to explore and think, there's a lot of opportunities now. There's a lot that's scary, but just trying to read the facts on the ground and do some new things. I just launched my website, drinkthebarrelage.com. Check it out.
Yes.
There will be a wine drawer section once we curate it, and a nice picture of Miss Renee up on there. But just trying to take my craft and put it into different places. And also we had the 8th annual awards banquet for Doll's House Foundation, dollshousefoundation.com. It's an organization that I'm on the board of that probably is the most important thing that I do. And it's simply, our motto is, we are because of you. just promote generosity with a good spirit, and we give out grants every year, and it's made me care about somebody other than myself. I was always great at treating myself well, but caring about others has been a very, very good experience.
Okay.
But you know what? I laugh, but a lot of people don't know how to treat themselves well.
It's a
So
fact.
that's a skill that a lot of people are
It's a
learning
fact.
because of the pandemic.
Sure.
So now that you were like, no,
Mhm.
I could do that. The other side, questionable. It's definitely different here.
Okay. I'll give you a little tidbit. What have I been doing? Not much. I've caught up on some reading over the last pandemic. What have I read? A lot of magazines. I've been really into the Wine Spectator to find out what's going on in the wine industry and people who are making headlines. I've caught up on a lot of phone calls to people whom I may have not spoken with, family and friends. One time I said, oh, if something were to happen and I had to be in the house, I have plenty to keep me busy. Well, I didn't pick up one of those things during the pandemic. They're still sitting there waiting for me to try to do something. I haven't been affected by any of the storms. I've, got past those, yeah. And that's about it. I've been taking it easy. Focusing on the wine draw, I think. Trying to put together some accessories to go with wine. We did wine covers to put over your glass that has a little hole that the straw goes in, so you can sip while your glass is covered.
Very nice.
The coasters and the placemat settings for a table. So those are the things that I've been doing, and they will be displayed on my Instagram page as soon as I find a good camera person to take those wonderful pictures. Thank you, Taylor. Okay, so getting to the main thing. We have 3 wines that we have brought to the table. They are rosé and a Sauvignon Blanc. And it's the end of the season drinks. And I don't want to put it just to the end of the season. I think they would go well coming up with the holidays, mix and match.
That's a fact.
I'm doing wine baskets also. So I've been putting rosé and white wines in some of the baskets. I personalized some of them. I've made one for, I get the small bottles and put a bottle in a small basket for one person to get. You can give it to somebody as a thinking about you or that type of thing. And then I have a medium size, which has a large bottle, 2 wine glasses, and some little snacks and the coasters. And then the large one is the one that comes with the table setting in the bottle.
Nice.
And
Very cool.
some accessories. So, as we start this, we've first cracked open our Sauvignon Blanc. Roth Estates. It's a 2018, and it's from Sonoma County. And now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. K to give us some insight.
All right, so I like to talk about kind of, where it's from, the body, some of the flavors, and what it pairs with. Sauvignon Blanc is very, very popular. Usually on restaurant menus, you see the New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs, which are lovely. They usually will either come from the Loire Valley in France, Bordeaux in France, Napa and Sonoma, or like we said, New Zealand. For New World, I'm a fan of the California varieties. The New Zealand's have lots and lots and lots of tropical notes. These dominate with a little more citrus and kind of grass/hay notes. They're a little more, before I said they were refined, but I'm trying to get away from the classist words. A little more maybe restrained. You get a little more in the way of acid and a little less sweetness, which I think makes it versatile for every single cheese we have on our plate here, and it's pairing nicely with this guacamole. Things with onion are hard to pair with. The grassy notes in here pair well with the onion.
Because they all come up from the ground.
All up from the ground, I like that.
It's like, okay, so it's like, it marries well.
It marries well, that's a fact. But yeah, just nice, light. It's
By all the wildfires that are out there.
over the next 10 years, prices, I believe, are going to go through the roof.
Wow.
And there's going to be a lot of wineries that don't exist anymore because the devastation and destruction has just been so vast. There's been an effect on kind of every level, from the people who pick the grapes. There was a lack of them anyway because of some legislation on the federal level over the last few years. Picking grapes is not easy work. It's not something a lot of people that will do. And the people that usually would do it are people that were fresh into this country. There's a lot less of those legal ones, I'm saying, so let's not get into a debate. We're talking to the world, everyone here, we in agreement, we ain't gonna talk about that. There were less people to farm the land. That was already affecting the industry, and now with the wildfires, you know, that raw material is gone. Then you've got consumption that's been up because Americans are drinking now more than ever because of the last 18 months. And then you add to that quarantine and what they have not being able to be produced. It's already hit the liquor world. Shortages are coming. If you, like right now, if you're a restaurant, if you want Moet, sorry, it's gone. Veuve Clicquot, it's gone.
Or it's off the roof in prices.
Right, exactly. The people that have it are hoarding it and charging double or triple. Luckily, California's here and it's domestic, but I see it coming. By Christmas time, you're going to look for some things that you usually would see, and they're not going to be there, and they won't be able to tell you when they'll be back. But
And it also, when we talk about the devastation, the fact that we have all this burning going on, it's putting a lot of smoke in the soil.
that's a fact.
You know, so that's going to change the taste. Not so much, I don't know about the quality, but the taste of wine.
The taste and
of
the
the
terroir,
grape.
right?
Yeah, and how is that going to play out? You know, are people going to look for their standby, taste it, and say,
This doesn't taste like I remember.
yeah, right.
Right.
I got to move on to something else.
Right.
Maybe the hope is over the next 100 years, right? That's something that plays out as the deposits. I'm not a scientist by any means, but it is something to think of that I may want to read a little more about. But over the next 100 years, you may have brand new styles coming up, and hopefully that's kind of the beauty that comes out of the destruction. Every time something bad happens, somewhere along the line, something beautiful happens. So it might give birth to something new.
Making a positive out of a negative.
Right, and hopefully it'll be farmed by a winemaker of color.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm not going to say hopefully, I'm going to say it will.
It will be, yes, let's speak it into existence.
By
Facts.
winemakers of color.
I like that.
Okay, so when we talk about this one here, what do you think of it, Taylor?
I like it, and I'm not a Sauvignon Blanc fan, and Miss Renee knows this. So Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnay are like grass and butter. That's like, in my mind, that's what it is. So when you smell it at first, I was like, oh, this is sweet, and then I tasted it and I said, oh, this is springtime. It smells like freshly cut grass to me, like it tastes like that. Sweet smell, grassy, springy taste, which I don't mind the taste. I like this one. This is one of the few Sauvignon Blancs that I like. But I would absolutely buy this. I would drink this one by itself.
Yeah.
I mean, I've also, we'll get into like mixing later, but I would also mix this one. So I'd buy it.
And I think I would poach a fish.
Ooh,
with
yes,
this.
please.
Yeah, you know, like a red snapper.
I was just gonna say I could go for some snapper. I
Oh,
think.
yeah.
I might end up with some escovitch on the way home.
Yeah, so I mean, I like it. I think and I'm not a white wine person by nature,
Yeah, no.
you know, but I find this to be enjoyable, something that I could not necessarily have to grab something to taste or pair
Right.
with. I could put it on the table in front of the television with a bag of popcorn.
Oh, that sounds like the perfect.
Buttered
evening.
popcorn and go for it. So it's nice, you know. I've been experimenting with my wine glassware lately, and so and been binge watching Scandal.
Okay, nice.
And she has this long stem goblet in her hand all the time.
Mhm.
So I went out and researched where I could find this at.
Nice.
Let me know
Nice.
where, because I want long, I can't fit them
Yes,
everywhere
I
without
got
them.
this at Crate and Barrel.
Not a
Okay.
surprise to me at all.
And so that's my wine glass. It holds red well because, you know, you
Right.
kind of, but it would hold, not that it would last long, but it would hold
That's
a
all
nice glass of this. So yeah, I will. And so what is this again? So
This is Roth Estate Sauvignon Blanc 2018 from Sonoma County. Shout out to Brescombe Barton Distributors. They were nice enough to provide this for our podcast. Thank you so much.
okay, all right. So I really like. And what's your take on it?
So, these are my go-tos when I'm doing like arugula salads, when I'm doing like hard, funky cheeses. I like how the acidity kind of rips through. It's what I call a lawnmower wine. You know, if I'm out like gardening or whatever, I'm now a full-time gardener.
You're in the car with us. We were talking
You know?
about gardening on the way here.
A garden glass definitely, I think, does something for what I've been growing. I love Sauvignon Blanc from all over the world. It might be one of my favorite grapes. In the Loire Valley, which is kind of, Sancerre is like, I guess you'd say, the finest Sauvignon Blanc. Kind of the oldest vines, the most storied. Ironically, the most sought after kind of note. Like some of those wines from the old world have like one sought after thing. Cat pee. I kid you not. If you look in the reviews of everyone that's over a 95, they will say cat pee is all over the nose. That smell, everyone knows it. If you had a feral cat, the wines have that. That plus funky cheese comes out to just do something really beautiful.
See, I could do the funky cheese, but the cat, no.
We can leave that.
It would turn me off.
Sure,
and not,
sure.
And keep the bottle on this
Right.
side of the table.
Well, one thing you two have said, and you know, I do wine classes, I do educate. I learn so much from people who are just enthusiasts because people will say, I don't like X, it always tastes like X. And I'm like, well, that's not true. You can have this, you can have that, you can have that. Then I look at restaurant menus, and I look at the package stores, and I see the same 7 wines from the big boys that they've been pushed into every place. The hope is that, I'm talking to you restaurants in our restaurant capital, be it West Hartford, be it Glastonbury, y'all know me, you know I know you, so I'm gonna come see you.
Wait a minute.
Let's get some varied things on our wine list. Let's put a wine on happy hour, have people try it, get a grape people have never heard of, and I think you then, on the profit side, somebody may then see a Sauvignon Blanc the next time and be willing to try it. So it's good to have things that are varied.
Right.
And I think this is a good example of an American Sauvignon Blanc.
Oh, you know, if this was on now that I've tasted it,
Yeah.
if I went out to a happy hour and I was like, I don't want to make sure you guys want some wine,
Sure.
I would absolutely order a glass of this.
And I would still understand why, you know, before this you wouldn't, because every place you go, you get the same
Grass in my glass.
thing,
Yes.
you know?
Oh, okay, nice. All right, so that's wine number 1 that we've tried. But my question to this is, how do you know what's meant to be aged? Is this something that if I pick this up now and the year is
2018.
This is
2018, if I pick this up now, do I have to open it now in order for it to have?
This, from my arsenal, was one. If you ask the winemaker, they probably would say it's a year, quote unquote, past its prime and vibrance. But this is great to me. I was just reading a quote from Kevin Zraly, and his wine book is what got me into wine. 1% of the world's wines are meant to be aged more than 5 years. 9% are meant to be aged more than, up to 5 years, more than 1 year. 90% is meant to be consumed within a year of it being issued. Now that can be confusing. You rarely will see a wine. So this year's rosé is on Mark 2020 because of the way the growing seasons go. So it'll always be a year later. Except when it's South America because they go on opposite seasons. So you'll see 2021's early there. Most wines need to be consumed. Things aging like fine wine. I love Frank Sinatra and I love his quote about that, but most things are not meant to be aged, and this is another trick that wine lists and restaurants and package stores pull. They'll have something from last year that's left over that should be on closeout, but they'll charge a couple more dollars for it. And like, hey, 18s, rosés, it's like, yeah, those should be $4 a bottle instead of 24. What are you doing? So as a consumer, look for the most current. And wine that's not meant to be aged means it's ready. Aged wine makes me mad because I can't drink it now.
And that's interesting, you talk about trying to up the price because it's older. And some of the small community wine shops that I go to,
Sure.
They mark down
That's awesome.
the price.
That's really cool.
I have a wine shop in my neighborhood, and I've been going down, and I can't remember the name of the wine, but they have all varietals. And it's from South Africa, but all the bottles are like $3.99.
That's so cool. That's nice.
And it really is, you know, and you can buy a lot. But I can't buy a lot because I can't drink a lot
Sure.
at one time unless I invite everybody over.
That's right. And it is good to keep it moving, you know, to keep the kind of collection moving, because nothing's worse than something going to the back of the fridge or the back of the cellar or the cabinet or whatever have you, and then it's like, oh, we should have drank this, but we didn't.
Oh, we know what happens when things go back to the back of the fridge. You forget that it's there.
That's a fact.
Everybody who buys produce knows what happens.
Well, then I'm a man, you know, all we see is what's right in the front anyway.
It's
not
like,
in the
I
front,
want
it is
this
there.
back. Why is this wet? What's happening? So no, that makes sense. It just, I laugh you guys are talking about this, and in my mind, any of the liquor stores I've been to, and I'm thinking about wines, it's almost like, oh, the ones with the most dust on them have been here the longest.
That's right. Yeah,
right?
those sections
so
that are
it's
just
like,
covered.
oh, they're supposed to be aged, and I'm like, that's gonna be too strong for me.
Right.
That's like that's just how I just make that connection. So if you're saying that I'm like, oh, maybe you just should have sold this.
I got good intuition. And the fact that you can't remember the name of that wine means you have a good wine shop. That means they help you. I feel like as the consumer, the information you need is a good restaurant and a good wine shop, and they should be doing the rest of the job. And I say that being in the business. It's our job to bring the consumer or the enthusiast to what they want. All y'all got to do is drink and buy it. So if no one's helping you, you're at the wrong place. That's for the world.
But then you have to have a conversation with the person that's helping you because, and like I said before, there's a culture of taste and smell and wine.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
so if you're talking to someone and they come from the Caribbean flair or, you know, warm climate, live by the sea,
Sure.
their whole perception of the aroma and the taste is going to be different than someone who has never stepped foot in a warm climate.
I don't know what that means.
Right,
What
and
is
so, you know, you have to look at other ways to hear what they're saying about the wine.
Like, what does dry mean? That's different to probably each one of us, you know?
It really is. So do you think that this is dry?
I
No?
wouldn't say that.
So,
To me, it is not. It doesn't make me
It's
feel
balanced, I think it's balanced.
I
Yeah.
like that word. And this is the part of wine that's annoying and we need to change. Just like, I mean, so this wine is old world. It's from France. From how I learned it, that ain't the old world, but I digress. Now there are wines from China. They call them New World. China is a lot older than France.
Not a new world.
You know, they call South African wines New World wines. The history of the pain of people and the history of wine are connected. I'm going to move on from that quickly. But the word dry, basically if it is not a dessert wine or not a fortified wine or not labeled as such, it's considered dry wine. It's kind of a catch-all term. Rieslings, a lot of them, I literally could drink 100 Rieslings a month and never repeat. I could have a Riesling wine shop. There's so many. Some of them will be marked off dry or half dry. Ironically, the one that's marked very dry is the most sweet. Wine is like the English language. There's what they mean is the grape on the vine is allowed to raisinate, and then the juice in there gets like all sinewy and sweet. So the answer is there is no answer. This is considered, it's considered a dry wine.
And you have to
Really?
taste it in order to know what that means to you.
What that means to you, where you are on scale,
Yeah.
exactly.
If you say something is dry to me,
I-
I'm expecting to.
A pucker.
Sure,
I'm
you feel it,
I'm
that's
expecting
great.
that my tongue
Right.
is now dry.
Mhm.
If you say, "Oh no, this is a dry," and that's my response, you know what? I appreciate your opinion, but I don't believe you because this is not how I taste it. Even like you were talking earlier, the smell of basement.
Yes,
First of all, I love how we can describe any smell by a person, place, or thing.
that's right. That's
And
right.
Everybody at the table was like, "Oh, wow,
Got it.
I know exactly I know what that is." I don't know if everybody's basement smells the same, but we know basement is the smell. You're
That's
like,
a
I
fact.
don't know what basement on my food or drink to smell like.
Yeah.
So even like when you describe it, it's very interesting. People will say, "Oh, is it dry?" Like so, like for people who just start drinking wine, when you just kind of make this assumption, it's either Moscato or anything red is a Merlot. Like that's lit in my mind
Sure,
now. Is
sure.
like, oh, every red's it's not dry. Every red
that's
is
right.
not Merlot. I can promise you that.
And then some people think Merlot is the least dry. And both of you are right, depending on
Exactly.
which. There was a movie Sideways about wine, and the guy said, I'm not drinking any effing Merlot, and Merlot sales went down 33%. The wine that they sought in the movie, that is a $30,000 bottle of wine, was a Merlot. It's just very strange and weird how culture has affected how we think about drinking, and most of what I think we hear are misconceptions.
So when we talk about that dry, does a wine, does that dryness or that sweetness, does
Mhm.
that have anything to do with how long it's been
It
bottled?
absolutely does. Wines over time. For wines, let's talk wines that are to be aged. They call them coming around. The acidity and tannin are the two kind of things that let wine be aged. The grape, if you, in aged wine, the grape will be almost like leather because that skin is so tough. When you first have it, it will rip your face off. But then in 10 years, it softens out and you experience more of the fruit. There's wine called Amarone from the Veneto, and they let the grapes out on straw mats on the top of barns, and it's allowed to raisinate a little more. And the fruit notes you get in that are just so upfront. But it's still considered a dry wine. It's one that people who aren't into wine taste and like, oh, okay, cool. The one thing I will give the old world is in America we have what's called baby taste. We are bigger, better, faster, more. Lots of sugar,
Yes.
lots of bam, bam, bam. I want big flavors. I want it all now, like an action movie. Old world wines, like they said, they have Bordeaux varietals. A little more restrained, a little less on the sugar. And I could look up the word bricks, and we'll talk about that in the future. Bricks is the amount of perceptible sugar in wine. This could have 20 grams, this could have 30, this could taste sweeter. It's like such a weird scale of how it actually comes up. Yeah.
All right, well, we are almost at the end of this conversation time. It's been good. We've honed in on a particular variety.
Yes.
And we've sipped and we taste. We've enjoyed it with some cheese and crackers, some fig and something jam, and some guac. I don't know what else that is in the fig, but it's okay. I'm not a fig person, but this tastes pretty good.
Put it on cheese, I eat whatever.
So I'm happy that all of you have tuned in. I hope you have enjoyed our conversation, and you will come back for part 2 of this episode of The Wine Jar. I would like to give a shout out to our engineer, Cass,
Big Cass.
and his studio, which has morphed into something really nice since we first
He's doing
started
it up
coming here.
He's doing it.
That's not part of what we're talking about.
But I need to give him a shout out because he's doing a wonderful
Shout out to
job.
Paradox.
So I thank you all for coming. Stay tuned for the next half.